The allure of haunted palaces and castles has captivated human imagination for centuries. These enigmatic structures, steeped in history and shrouded in mystery, stand as silent witnesses to the passage of time, their formidable walls echoing with stories of intrigue, tragedy, and the supernatural. From the ethereal moats of medieval fortresses to the opulent chambers of Renaissance palaces, these architectural marvels have been the backdrop for tales of restless spirits, ghostly apparitions, and eerie phenomena that continue to send shivers down the spines of those who dare to explore their shadowy corridors. Join us on a journey through the haunted palaces and castles of the world, where history meets the supernatural in a chilling blend of reality and legend. At the start of the 20th century, a magnificent Baroque palace in Madrid, newly finished, fell into disrepair. During the latter part of the 19th century, it served as the residence of the respected first Marquis of Linares, José de Murga y Riolid, who, in 1884, moved in with his family despite the palace being incomplete, despite the Marquis's esteemed reputation in Spain, where he utilized his substantial wealth to support numerous charitable endeavors, including the construction of a grand public hospital still in operation today. A dark tale has cast a shadow over his legacy. It's believed that this tale continues to haunt the corridors of his grand palace. As a young man, José had fallen in love with a woman named Raimonda, who hailed from modest origins. His father strongly opposed their union and sent José to London in an attempt to make him forget her. However, after his father's death, José returned to Madrid, and his love for Raimonda remained unwavering. They eventually married. Up to this point, their story may seem reminiscent of many classic narratives of aristocratic love affairs with commoners. However, what truly troubled José's father wasn't Raimonda's humble background but a concealed secret he was unwilling to reveal. An illicit love affair that led to the birth of an illegitimate daughter named Raymond. Rumors from history suggest that José discovered this secret when going through his father's letters after marrying Raimonda. This revelation devastated the newlyweds, and it's rumored that they clandestinely sought a dispensation from the Pope to legitimize their union. After extensive negotiations, Pope Pius IX is believed to have granted the Cassady Convuvere dispensation, allowing them to live together chastely. But far from living chastely, it's whispered that José and Raimonda had a child together, a daughter whose illegitimate birth drove the Marquises to commit a dreadful act, infanticide. It is thought that the infant's tiny body was buried on the Palacio de Linares grounds, where she remains as a restless spirit, haunting her eternal home alongside her guilt-ridden parents. Verifying such heinous rumors is challenging, and only circumstantial evidence exists to support this legend. Raymond's mother is known, but her father remains unrecorded, and José and Raimonda did not have any legitimate offspring. Furthermore, a reputable Spanish historian has suggested that there may indeed be some truth to this legend, a truth that the family has tried to conceal even to this day. Concerning the presence of ghosts in the palace, there are experts who believe this to be the case. In 1990, Dr. Carmen Sanchez de Castro, a medical and psychiatric doctor, led a team of 15 individuals in investigating the palace. This investigation was prompted by claims from renovation workers who reported hearing mysterious footsteps and voices uttering phrases such as, "I had a daughter" and "Mama. Mama." During their inquiry, the team allegedly recorded around 70 disembodied voices that seemed to validate the palace's associated rumors. Many of these captured voices are profoundly sorrowful, including a mournful cry for Raymond. A cassette tape containing these recordings was promptly compiled and remains accessible to this day. These ghostly voices, purportedly captured within the palace, are often chillingly clear. The recordings were so sensational that following Dr. Castro's 1990 investigation, around 200 people stormed the building, eager to witness the voices for themselves. The palace incurred damage, and the police had to be summoned to manage the crowd. Since then, there have been no substantial investigations of the palace, and skeptics have challenged the cassette's evidence. Nevertheless, despite these disputes, reports of paranormal occurrences persist to this day among visitors to the palace, which now stands as a cultural heritage site, leaving many convinced that it remains haunted. Dragsholm Castle, located on a secluded island within Denmark's Zealand archipelago, boasts a rich history. What was once a formidable medieval fortress has been transformed into an opulent Baroque hotel and restaurant. This venerable edifice stands as one of the nation's oldest secular structures, and is renowned for its role as a prison for noble traders during the 16th and 17th centuries. Among the notable prisoners confined within its walls was the 4th Earl of Bothwell, a prominent Scottish nobleman born in 1534. His notoriety arose from his sensational involvement with Mary, Queen of Scots, following the murder of her husband, Lord Donnelly, in 1567. The tragic events that unfolded began with an ill-fated explosion caused by 2 barrels of gunpowder placed beneath Lord Darnley's sleeping quarters. He narrowly escaped, injured and in his nightclothes, only to be pursued and ultimately smothered by an assassin. In the aftermath of Darnley's demise, Queen Mary was seemingly abducted by Bothwell and compelled into marriage, casting suspicion upon the Earl for Lord Donnelly's untimely death. Their union sparked widespread controversy, deeply dividing the nation. A few months later, Mary and Bothwell faced opposition from Scottish lords at the Battle of Caribbean Hill. Defeated, Mary surrendered her throne, and her new husband fled. Bothwell's journey led him to Scandinavia, where King Frederick II of Denmark ordered his arrest on suspicions of Darnley's murder. Thus, he found himself imprisoned at Dragsholm Castle. With Mary unlikely to regain her throne, Bothwell, once the king consort of Scotland, languished in captivity, chained to a pillar within the castle. For a decade, he endured appalling conditions that drove him to madness, ultimately succumbing at the age of 44. Given the tragic circumstances surrounding his demise, it is no wonder that Bothwell's spirit is believed to linger at Dragsholm. Many have claimed to witness his ghostly figure riding through the castle courtyard, seemingly forever in pursuit of the Scottish crown. In addition to Bothwell's spectral presence, the castle is rumored to be haunted by a white lady, a sorrowful apparition said to be the spirit of a young woman entombed within the castle's walls. Legend has it that she was the daughter of one of the castle's former masters, who ordered her confinement after discovering her love for a commoner. Since then, she is said to haunt the castle's staircases, with numerous guests and visiting psychics attesting to her eerie presence. Chillingly, during restoration work in the 1930s, laborers stumbled upon a skeleton draped in a tattered white dress hidden behind the castle's stones. This grim discovery lent credibility to the legend of the White Lady and the ghosts that are said to inhabit Dragsholm Castle. Hampton Court Palace boasts a renowned reputation for its alleged paranormal activity. This architectural masterpiece, dating back to the 16th century, is often regarded as one of the most haunted structures in the United Kingdom. Among the many ghostly tales associated with the palace, one of the most famous involves Catherine Howard, the fifth wife of King Henry VIII. In 1541, she was accused of adultery, leading to her arrest and the stripping of her titles. Legend has it that when Catherine Howard was apprehended by guards at Hampton Court, she made a daring escape attempt, running to the doors of the Chapel Royal, where she believed King Henry was in prayer. Hoping to plead for mercy from her husband, she cried out to him. Unfortunately, her efforts were in vain, and she met her fate with execution at the Tower of London on February 13, 1542. Over the next 480 years, numerous visitors to the palace reported encountering the ghost of Catherine Howard in that particular part of the building, forever seeking her husband to beg for her life. These stories became so well known that by the time Hampton Court Palace opened to the public in 1918, the area associated with Catherine's story had already earned the nickname, the Haunted Gallery. Since then, with an annual influx of over 500,000 visitors, reports of supernatural experiences in this section of the palace have continued to grow. In addition to sightings of apparitions, visitors have described feeling sudden chills and experiencing peculiar sensations while passing through the corridor. Strangely, in 1999, 2 female guests fainted at the same spot in the haunted gallery during separate tours, both incidents occurring within half an hour of each other. As the new millennium dawned, reports of encounters with Catherine Howard's ghost in the haunted gallery surged. Seeking to gain a deeper understanding of these alleged paranormal incidents, the palace enlisted the expertise of Richard Wiseman, a psychology professor known for his critical examination of anomalous phenomena. Wiseman and his team spent a week collecting questionnaire data from visitors and mapping out the reported phenomena based on a century's worth of testimonies. They found that suggestion played a significant role in people's experiences at the palace. Those who admitted to believing in ghosts were more likely to encounter something unusual. Surprisingly, non-believers also reported strange sensations, such as unusual emotions and a feeling of presence within the haunted gallery. Further investigation revealed a correlation between supposed supernatural locations and local magnetic fields. This raised the question: does Hampton Court Palace's haunted reputation stem from magnetic interference, or could paranormal activity influence magnetic energy? These findings provided some evidence supporting the existence of ghosts at the palace. Certainly, there is no shortage of personal encounters reported at the site, including accounts from staff members. For instance, Ronald, a senior warder at the palace, and several colleagues claimed to have experienced unexplainable phenomena, such as hearing doors opening and disembodied footsteps in the Queen's Gallery after closing hours. Another unsettling incident involved 2 female visitors who had to be escorted from the palace by staff after they were found screaming and trembling in fear, both claiming to have seen a headless figure dressed in a dark robe. Numerous other accounts include members of the public feeling pushed by ghostly hands, encountering stubborn locks and electrical malfunctions, and witnessing the repeated appearance of a white, misty figure on the Queen's staircase. These are just a few of the many ghost stories associated with Hampton Court Palace, underscoring its enduring reputation for hauntings. Ultimately, to assess the authenticity of these paranormal claims, one must visit the palace firsthand. Born in a history steeped in bloodshed, Leap Castle bore a curse, the echoes of which still resonate through the ages. Constructed around 1250 AD, this fortress carries with it a dark legacy of violence and mysticism. Various tales attempt to explain the origin of this malevolent curse. In one narrative, a defiant peasant met a gruesome fate as he sought to evade paying taxes to his lord. Another version attributes the bloodshed to a dispute within the O'Bannon clan, their conflict centering on land ownership. Adding to the castle's foreboding aura, there is substantial evidence suggesting that the site had been used for druidic rituals for centuries prior to the castle's construction. Some speculate that the land's strategic placement at the intersection of 2 ley lines imbued it with heightened sensitivity, allowing events, both benevolent and malevolent, to leave a profound mark on the earth and the castle. If this theory holds true, then the relentless and powerful O'Carroll clan, who held dominion over the castle for an extended period, saturated the location with unimaginable suffering. In the 1900s, during the castle's restoration, a chilling discovery was made. Workers stumbled upon an oubliette, an exceptionally sinister form of dungeon accessible only through a trapdoor concealed behind the chapel wall. 8 feet beneath this door lay menacing spikes. It is believed that the O'Carrolls lured unsuspecting guests over this trapdoor, releasing them to meet a gruesome fate impaled on the spikes. Death was a mercy granted only to the fortunate. Upon this discovery, 3 cartloads of bones were extracted from the oubliette, with a pocket watch from the 1800s found among them, attesting to the centuries of use this sinister contraption had seen. Stories of spectral apparitions haunting the castle's corridors have persisted for generations. One such supernatural entity was considered more terrifying than the others, referred to simply as it or the thing. Today, it is described as a dark elemental. Mildred Darby, a resident of Leap Castle in the early 20th century, penned one of the most detailed accounts of an encounter with this entity in a letter dated 1909. She wrote, "Words cannot adequately describe the sheer horror of the thing. Its very indefinable nature intensified the nightmarish shadow it cast." Darby described it as humanoid, slightly shorter than herself, with dark voids resembling eyes and sharp features. She consistently mentioned the gaping black voids and a uniform gray hue that tainted its skin. Others who witnessed this entity at the time provided similar descriptions, along with accounts of its putrid odor of decay and death. Terrifying testimonies of encounters with this elemental entity persist to this day. In 2002, a member of a television crew filming at the castle recounted a harrowing experience. They witnessed a white mist suddenly rushing towards them, followed by a searing pain beneath their right ribcage. The pain penetrated through to their back, leaving them with a sensation of a spiritual hole punched through their chest. They even claimed to feel as though they had suffered significant blood loss, with the castle seemingly absorbing their life force. Such encounters have led many to believe that Leap Castle is not merely haunted by the souls of O'Carroll's victims or malevolent ancestors, but rather by an inhuman force, an elemental entity from another realm, or, perhaps, a dark embodiment of all the anguish and suffering tied to the site. Alarmingly, researchers suggest that such beings can pose greater danger than human spirits, influencing the physical world and inflicting harm upon the living. While a departed spirit might induce fear and emotional trauma, the extent of physical harm an elemental can inflict remains a mystery. Thus, labeling Leap Castle as merely haunted seems insufficient to encapsulate the scope of the perilous paranormal phenomena reported to occur within its ominous walls. Nestled along the rugged southern Welsh coastline, in proximity to the village of Southerndown, lies the scant remnants of Dunraven Castle, occupying an imposing position atop a steep headland overlooking the bay. This site's strategic significance dates back to the Iron Age when it was first fortified. Today, the castle stands as a mere shadow of its former self, a manor that hosted generations of families, served as a fortress during times of conflict, transformed into a grand hunting lodge, and later found purpose as a crucial military hospital. Yet, in 1963, Dunraven Castle fell victim to heedless demolition, stripping it of its historic wealth. However, despite the erasure of its physical presence, the land still carries the weight of its history, as local legend tells of lingering spirits and ghosts haunting the ruins. Among these apparitions is the infamous Waterborne, a man known as the sinister Lord of Dunraven, believed to be responsible for numerous deaths. The tale of Vaughan's descent into darkness began with noble intentions when he resided at the castle during the late 16th century. Recognizing the treacherous nature of the rocky bay below, he heroically saved a shipwrecked crew by swimming out to them, subsequently proposing ways to prevent such disasters in the future. Regrettably, his proposals fell on deaf ears in the central government, igniting a desire for revenge within Vaughan. Determined to free himself from London's influence, Vaughan spent a substantial portion of his family's fortune attempting to revive the old Welsh chieftains, ultimately impoverishing the castle. It was at this juncture that his virtuous intentions vanished. Stricken by desperation for money, he forged an alliance with Mat of the Iron Hand, a former pirate who had once been incarcerated by Vaughan himself. In a twist of fate, Mat had lost his hand and replaced it with an iron hook, earning his moniker. Vaughan, versed in deceitful practices, viewed Mat of the Iron Hand as the perfect partner to exploit the treacherous Bay of Dunraven. Together, they became wreckers, enticing ships closer to the shore with rigged lamps attached to cattle, causing them to crash upon the waves. With no survivors, the loot aboard these ships became the ill-gotten gains of Vaughan and Mat, ensuring that no witnesses remained. For a time, Vaughan's fortunes flourished until a tragic turn of events befell him. 2 of his 4 sons encountered trouble at sea, stranded on a rocky outcrop with their boat adrift. Walter Vaughan, helpless, watched as the sea claimed the lives of his 2 children. Around the same period, another of his sons met a grim fate, leaving Vaughan with only one remaining, a young man seeking his fortune on a merchant ship. Worried for his son's safety and future, Vaughan anxiously awaited his return. One fateful night, his heir arrived on a fine merchant vessel, approaching the bay. Mat of the Iron Hand, lured by the promise of riches, guided the ship onto the rocks, wrecking it. Among the wreckage, a lone survivor emerged, a young man bearing the Vaughan family emblem on his hand. Spotting Walter Vaughan's sole surviving son and nursing a deep grudge over the loss of his hand years prior, Mat exacted his vengeance. He severed Vaughan's son's hand and mercilessly ended his life on the beach. To prove the completeness of his revenge, he displayed the severed hand to Walter Vaughan, leaving him with no heirs. Today, Watervaughan is said to haunt the cliffside, a mournful specter forever lamenting the loss of his children. Local whispers suggest that on the anniversary of that tragic day, he can be seen at night, accompanied by the spirits of the sailors who perished under his command. Apart from Watervaughan, Dunraven is associated with other spectral entities, including the Blue Lady, a ghostly female said to wander the gardens and the castle itself prior to its demolition. Accounts from individuals like Jenny, whose great-grandmother worked as a nurse during the Great War when the castle was a convalescent hospital, attest to sightings of the Blue Lady, who often appeared at the bedside of dying soldiers. The paranormal phenomena surrounding Dunraven Castle extended to its 4th Earl, who had a strong interest in spiritualism. He actively participated in numerous seances, ultimately publishing a book titled Experiences in Spiritualism, and compiling reports of paranormal occurrences at the castle in 1926. His obsession with the apparition of the Blue Lady was evident in his meticulous gathering of first-hand accounts. In the mind of the 4th Earl, the spectral lady was undeniably real. Today, the legends of the Blue Lady, the Wicked Lord of Dunraven, and Walter Vaughan continue to be associated with the castle, now reduced to crumbling walls. Dunraven may have lost many of its stories to time, but its former inhabitants may persist in the shadows.